Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live with Impact Melanoma. My name's Craig Schuh, and I'm joined today with Leah Adams, my friend and survivor. Really excited to have you here this afternoon. I'm going to give a brief rundown of our agenda, and then I'll turn it over to Leah first. What you should hear from us over the next 20 to 25 minutes is we'll both be sharing our specific stories with melanoma and the impact it's had on our lives. From there, we'll transition to talking about the award-winning Your Skin is In program, the Impact Melanoma sponsors. And time permitting, we'll answer some questions at the end as well. But if we're not able to get to them, please be assured we'll follow up with answers after the fact. Again, we're really excited to have you today. And with that, Leah, I will turn it over to you to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. Hi, everyone. I'm Leah Adams, and I am a 27-year-old melanoma survivor and really excited to be on here today to share my story. So my story goes back in time into 2019, a few years ago now, where I went to my first ever skin check. Never had a skin check before, and a month before I had my skin check, my dad was actually diagnosed with stage 0 melanoma. He had a mole on his back that looked a little suspicious and wanted to get it checked out, and it ended up being stage 0 melanoma. And he got it removed, and his dermatologist told him just to return every 6 months, and just to keep an eye out on his moles and skin. So hearing that kind of made me start thinking, well, maybe I should get my skin checked myself. A lot like my dad, I have a lot of moles on my body. I spend a lot of time out in the sun in my life, use tanning beds, not a lot of sun-safe habits. And so there was actually a mole in particular on my chest that I noticed back in 2019 that didn't look normal. It was actually right here, and it was very dark. It did not have even edges. And even my mom at one point pointed it out to me, and she was just like, that doesn't look right. You probably want to get that checked out. Your dad just got checked out. Like, I think you should do it. And, classic me, not always listening to my mom. I didn't really act quickly on that, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking about it a lot. And I kept looking at my mole, that one in particular. I started Googling images of melanoma, skin cancer, and that never goes down a great road. So finally, I ended up booking a skin check appointment, and I purposely went in not saying anything about that mole in particular. I told myself the dermatologist will know, what looks suspicious, what doesn't, and I just kind of went in with a clear mind about it. And lo and behold, everything else looked good on my body except for that mole, and that mole was actually removed and biopsied. According to my dermatologist, it didn't look right to her as well. So that's kind of when the anxiety set in for me. And because I've always been a person, I could never have skin cancer. That mole could just be, precancerous. It wouldn't be anything serious. So my dermatologist removed the mole, and she said, you'll probably have your results back probably in 3 to 7 business days. And I was like, okay. So was counting the days, waiting for the call, waiting for, the results, and 3 to 7 days turned into 2 weeks. And I was wondering why it was taking so long. And I remember calling my dermatologist office, asking, what is taking so long? And they said the mole that was removed was actually very atypical, and additional staining and testing actually needed to be done. So that was, again, another anxiety provoking thought for me, oh my gosh, like, why is this taking so long? Like, what is this mole? So many thoughts going through my head. And so my skin check was at the end of September of 2019, and I got the call on October 14th, so a few weeks later. And I remember getting that call. I was actually in the car with my boyfriend. We were on our way to a trip, and my dermatologist called, and the second I heard her voice, I knew it wasn't going to be good news. And she said, do you have a few moments to go over your results? And I said, yeah, sure. And the minute she said, we got your results back, and unfortunately, your results indicated that the mole on your chest was stage 1A malignant melanoma, I felt like my world just froze. I felt like everything that I've ever done with my skin that was unhealthy and that was a bad decision and choice just flashed before my eyes. I was mad at myself. I was embarrassed. I was scared. I was anxious. I didn't really even know, what to even ask, what to even comment after hearing that over the phone. And so my dermatologist said that I was going to need 2 procedures. So my malignant melanoma stage 1A was actually 0.7 millimeters deep into my skin. So it actually was stage 1A, but bordering stage 1B. So that being said, they not only had to schedule me for surgery to remove the melanoma and cancer in my chest, but they also had to remove some lymph nodes under my right arm to see if cancer spread to my organs and my lymph nodes. So 3.5 weeks later, I had both procedures done, and it was another waiting game because I had to see if it spread to my organs or not with the sentinel lymph node biopsy. And recovery from those surgeries was not fun. I am a runner, and one of the first things I asked when I woke up from surgery was, when can I run again? And they told me, yeah, you will not be running for a while. Your incisions are deep, even though they don't seem deep, and your body needs time to heal. So, post-surgery was really, it was a time of reflection for me, and I really started thinking about, all the things that I've done, that weren't smart, using tanning beds, not using sunscreen, really putting, this idea of, oh, you're only beautiful when you're tan above a lot of things for me. And it's so wrong, and it's not the right way to think. And so I went through a period of reflection about that, and flash forward a year after that, I had another scare in October of 2020. There was a mole that popped up on my leg that was actually a Spitz nevus. And for those of you watching, a Spitz nevus under a microscope actually resembles melanoma. And given my history, they wanted to be safe rather than sorry. And I had, again, another surgery on my leg, removed the Spitz nevus and made sure margins were clear. And luckily that was done. But again, it was ironic. It was the same time of year, and this was all happening again to me. And I think the second time around, healing after that surgery, I realized, instead of saying, why me? Why did this happen to me? Look at my scars on my body. I don't feel beautiful. I don't feel attractive. There's so much more to my story and my journey. And, I've started thinking about it in a different light, that my scars actually share a story and they tell a story. And your scars are your battle wounds. Your scars really, tell you how strong your body is. And so from that moment moving forward, I can call myself a melanoma survivor, but I'm also a melanoma advocate. And I made a goal as of this year in 2021 to get really involved in organizations like Impact Melanoma and share my story and tell my story. And especially now, so I mentioned in the beginning, my dad was actually diagnosed with stage 0 melanoma before me. And unfortunately, in January of this year, my dad had a seizure while driving. And luckily, he was okay. And he was actually with my mom in the car. But long story short, he was rushed to the hospital. Lots of tests were done. And they found that there were lesions in his brain and in his lungs. And again, more tests and biopsies were done. And they actually found out that he now has metastatic melanoma. And that was a really hard pill to swallow. And it's so interesting looking back in your life and kind of seeing like a full circle moment here of, your own personal journeys and then your family's journeys and how sometimes they connect and how you can actually do this kind of stuff together. So now this work that I do with Impact Melanoma and, being on here and sharing my story, I not only do it for me, but I do it for my dad, who's currently in treatment for metastatic melanoma. He's done gamma knife radiation for his brain. He's currently doing immunotherapy for his lungs. And it's been a fight. It's been a journey, but I'm really glad that I get to share this journey and this story with you today. And that's a little bit about me, and I'll pass it over to Craig.
Thanks, Leah. I've gotten to hear your story before, but it never loses its impact the more times. And You'll probably hear some similarities and some differences. So again, Craig Schuh, I'm 36 years old. I'm a current cancer patient or melanoma patient. And here's my story. So melanoma first appeared in my family in the early 2000s. So in 2004 and 6, I did a family member diagnosed with melanoma. Fortunately, they were able to get a wide local excision, like Lee explained, and their journey fortunately ended from there. That did prompt members of my family to get a little more prompt with getting their skin checked. As Leah mentioned, I have lots of moles all over my back, ones in my family. And at the prompting of my wonderful wife, I went to my first mole appointment, or excuse me, dermatology appointment, call it 2011. Got the clean bill of health. Hey, you look good. You can actually probably just go see your primary care physician for now. As a male that tends to probably only focus on what's wrong if it's staring them in the face, I took that, unfortunately, as a clean bill of health, and moles and skin and sun didn't enter my thoughts again for almost 10 years. And then that all changed at the end of 2019. So our family, I'm up in New England now. We've been living in Texas, moved back in summer of 2019. And my wife started to notice a mole on my forehead that was changing color. So similar to Leah's story, it got darker and darker. And ironically, you go back and look at these pictures and you think to yourself, I should have seen this change. And mine is, I mean, I'm looking at it every time I'm in the mirror, probably similar to yours, Leah, right? But you don't realize how much it changes. Anyhow, so it continues to change, and it gets dark enough that my wife and I decided, yeah, you really need to get this checked. And so January 2020, go in for my annual physical. And I decided I was going to point that out. At the same time, I'd also thought I had a lump in front of my ear, but I couldn't remember when it started. And I thought maybe it had been there a long time and didn't really think much of it. Had my primary care doctor check out both. And as you'd expect, got 2 referrals, one to a dermatologist, one to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, because the primary care doctor thought it was a cyst on my jawline. My wife and I decided I should get the mole looked at first based on my family history of melanoma. As I'm sure a lot of you may experience or would experience, they're in high demand. So getting appointments with highly reputable dermatologists can be challenging. Got my appointment a couple months later. COVID-19 comes. I get a head cold and I'm not willing to go into a doctor's office as that person. So pushed it off until April of last year. Going for my appointment. Got a full exam immediately upon entering and had 2 biopsied. I had a shave biopsy of a mole on my stomach and what's called a punch biopsy of the one on my forehead, which had been the one I was concerned about. And 3 days later, on April 23rd, 2020, I was called and told that I had, it was in fact positive for melanoma on my forehead. So to compare it to Leah's was 0.7 millimeters, mine was 1.1 millimeters. Still considered to be caught relatively early, but I also was going to have a wide local excision and I was going to have a lymph node biopsy. Was fortunate to get referred down to Mass General Hospital based on my family history, which I'm so thankful for, which you'll hear a little bit more about in a minute. And that surgery was scheduled for the middle of May based on the pandemic and the risks of going into hospitals. During that time, my wife and I had educated ourselves a little bit more on the lymphatic system and actually learned that there can be lymph nodes in front of your ears. I told the doctors this. They still, they were going to check, but weren't super concerned based on how big the initial mole was. Obviously, anything's possible. So day of surgery, wonder, and wake up to being told that lump in front of my ear was in fact melanoma in 2 of my lymph nodes, but it wasn't my sentinel lymph node. So anyone that's well versed on that's a bit odd. It usually would travel to your sentinel lymph node first. It skipped my sentinel lymph node and landed in 2 lymph nodes in my parotid gland, hence why I had the lump. So those 2 things were connected all along, and I never had any idea. And if I had known that, candidly, I probably would have moved at a little bit of a quicker pace. So that was another round of challenging news. Fortunately, margins were clear, surgery was successful, which was great. So from there, it was time for scans to see if things had spread. And for me, unfortunately, by the time they found it, it had already advanced. So they found melanoma in my gallbladder and spleen, which again are also not overly common places to get the spread of disease. And so at 35 years old, I was told I had stage 4 metastatic melanoma, which is extremely overwhelming and terrifying. And the more you read, the worse it gets. So I tried to do as little of that as possible. And so my journey is a little bit different from there. And so I met with my team at Mass General. They've been amazing. I can't say enough good things about that whole team. And so it was time to start treatment because my melanoma can't be treated with surgery alone. It just isn't effective. So I don't have a gallbladder, so they had to take that up to biopsy it. I missed that part. But with my spleen, that wasn't necessarily the most effective strategy. And obviously, if it's spread, the odds of it continuing or spreading again is high. So for me, it became immunotherapy. I know Leah mentioned that for her dad. So I'm on immunotherapy. Keytruda is what it's well known as in the industry. You may have seen the commercials. But I've also been really blessed to be in a clinical trial. So I'm in a clinical trial where they were able to take the tumor they had removed and blood samples, and they compare those. And by using the difference in epitomes, they can create my own personalized vaccine. So I was randomized into that trial. And so July 1st, 2020, I started my treatment plan, which is a combination of those two things. So in a phase 2 clinical trial. So for anyone that is interested in clinical trials, they're amazing. I think the way it's explained is an ability to get tomorrow's treatment today. And so that's where my journey started improving, I would say. And so I've now been in treatment since then. As part of that, I get rescanned a lot. I've had 6 rounds of rescans. And fortunately for me, I've had only positive results since then. So I have responded to treatment. Unfortunately, only about 50% of folks respond to treatment. And so I'm fortunate to be landing in that category. And my last set of rescans was a couple of weeks ago, which has shown stability, only stability or improvement. And a couple weeks ago, I also hit my 1-year cancer anniversary, as we call it. So not a day goes by that I don't feel extremely fortunate of where I'm at right now. My side effects are minimal compared to what a lot of people go through. I have this awesome white beard now because of my side effects, and I get some arthritis, but other than that, it's really not too bad. I've been able to continue all the things I love. And one of the things that was important to me, similar to what Leah shared, was if I'm going to go through something like this, I want to stop other people from going through this. I wasn't ever in tanning beds. I wasn't intentionally in the sun. I wasn't intentionally out of the sun. But even a couple bad sunburns can really increase your chances of this. And if I had known earlier in my life, you definitely have those reflection points of, would your outcome have been any different? So I got involved with Impact Melanoma. Fortunately, through Mass General, they told me about Impact Melanoma. I've had the privilege of doing a couple things that we'll talk about here in a minute, and also joining you all here today. And again, hopefully, if I can stop somebody else from going through this, then all the time committed to talking about it is well worth it. So with that, I will pause, and I think Leah is going to jump in with a little bit more about some of the programs.
Yeah, no, thanks, Craig. Your story I do know a little bit about, and it's just always very powerful for me to hear it. And, even though we've had different stages of melanoma, there's a lot of similarities with the impact, on the family and, how you actually get to really find a wonderful support community. And we obviously, that's how we met, through Impact Melanoma. And, that being said, I do want to talk about one of the main reasons why we're on this Facebook Live today. Craig mentioned that Impact Melanoma has some fantastic programs for all of you to look into, but one in particular is the Your Skin Is In program. And Your Skin Is In program educates teens and young adults about skin cancer in its deadliest form, melanoma. Melanoma is the second most common type of skin cancer in teens and young adults ages 15 to 29. And this Your Skin Is In program includes a free modular e-learning lesson that teachers can use in their classroom and show either all of the segments at once or break it up into different sections. And so the whole course actually takes anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes, and there's 5 different parts. So I'll quickly run through those 5 parts. The first is a trivia game, and this trivia game is for students to learn about the different types of skin cancer and the risk of UV damage and how to prevent it and more. And it's really fun because it's played in a Jeopardy style. So those of you watching that love Jeopardy, it's super fun and it allows games for teams, to keep score and provides an explanation to each answer. So super fun way to learn. The second part is 3 interactive video scenarios, which those 3 videos are called Athletes Under the Sun, The Perfect Tan, at Day at the Beach. And these are where students answer questions during the videos and receive immediate feedback from a dermatologist. Like, how cool is that? The third part is called How Are You Exposed? And this one is probably the most interesting to me. And it's where photos of high school students have their photos taken with a UV camera that shows the different levels of UV damage on their skin and what their behaviors are, which is super powerful because as you can see my face, you can see Craig's face. We may look like we have, great faces, not a lot of sun damage, but we don't really know what's going on under our skin and what is happening and the UV damage that has been done. The fourth part of the program is the Your Skin is In pledge. And this is where we ask students to protect their skin by being UV safe, both indoors and outdoors. And the final part of the program is our Exposed video that shares stories of young melanoma survivors and our Tanning is Out video about the dangers of tanning beds. Wish I watched this before stepping in a tanning bed, but they're very, very impactful, all of these 5 segments. So the program also includes a teacher's guide where there's quizzes, posters, goodies, t-shirts, and more. And if you're watching and you want to learn more about this program and want to get started and implement this in your classroom, you can go to www.impactmelanoma.org/programs/Your Skin is In, and you can select the For Teachers tab. And teachers who bring the lesson to their classroom may apply for a $250 stipend. So this program is amazing. It's so powerful. And Craig, I know that you actually have led a few of these. So I want to pass it over to you now to kind of hear from you about your experience in this program.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Leah. I appreciate that. So I've had the opportunity to speak to some schools, again, trying to make an impact and prevent others. And so I've been able to join with Heather Quintel, another member of the Impact Melanoma team. We've spoken to high school students and college students, telling our stories very similar to what Leah's doing here today and myself. It's been a really great experience. And so for you teachers out there, you have the ability to go in and request speakers that match the audience you're looking for. So Leah, myself, Heather, et cetera, there's a team of us that can do that. Obviously, in a virtual world, we can do it anywhere. So our most recent one was in North Texas. So we're not limited geographically because we all use Zoom, StreamYard, and other platforms all the time now. It's been a great experience and been really impactful to get to speak with students. And if you're a survivor and you have interest in getting back that way, please consider it. It's really easy to get started. The team at Impact Melanoma sets you up for immense success with it. So it's been a really great thing and a great add to the Your Skin is In program. I can't encourage it enough for teachers and for students, because both Lee and I, if we had gotten that opportunity, maybe our journeys would have been a little bit different.
For sure. No, thanks, Craig. And I do have a testimonial here from somebody who participated in the Your Skin is In program. So I do want to share this with our viewers today. This person says, I love that Impact Melanoma offers a free online learning course to educate students from middle school to college ages nationwide about the importance of taking care of their skin. Many students may not realize that using tanning beds before the age of 35 increases their risk of melanoma by 75%. Scary. Using tanning beds also ages your skin and accelerates the appearance of wrinkles and dark spots. So I don't know how your thoughts are, Craig, about reading that testimonial, but I know this program is very powerful.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful program.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, well, I know we're probably running low on time here, and I don't see any comments on my end. So I will say, if you guys want to, this is actually being recorded and will be posted later today, I believe. So I just wanted to say, it was so great to be here with you today, Craig. And if any of our viewers watching this and have, additional questions or any comments, please continue to post them on this post, and we'll and the Impact Melanoma team will get back to you. So you can also visit impactmelanoma.org to learn more. And you can check out the Your Skin Is In program, read survivor stories like mine and like Craig's, and you can find out many more ways to get involved and see upcoming melanoma month sessions like this. So thank you both thank you everyone, and thanks Craig. It was so good being here today.
Yeah, thanks, Leah. It was a pleasure. Melanoma is powerful, but the melanoma community is more powerful, and Impact Melanoma plays a big role in that. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We really, really appreciate it, and we hope to hear from you again soon. Have a great afternoon.